Oh, and today we were playing The Taste of Fire. We started the first video last time, so if you missed that video, you go check it out right now to see how this VM starts. So I'll go ahead and continue. I at least trust him enough for that. He treated me more than respectfully enough back in the forest to think that some other beastman was near me while I was unconscious, however. The rhino flashes in my mind again, the way he sneered at me, what he intended to do with me. "Are you alright, Sam?" "Yes." He gives me a dubious look. "How about you lie down properly?" I do as he suggests. "So this is an inn?" "Yes, although," an all too familiar, embarrassed expression comes over his face. I didn't exactly have the gold to pay for lodging, so I'll be running some errands for Herschel until the debt is paid. "Wait, you are doing stuff for the innkeeper so I can stay here?" "Yes, is that a problem?" I blink at him, incredulous. Does he not realize how absurd that sounds? I'm a complete stranger to him, but he's willing to go to these lengths for me. "Are you real?" What's that supposed to mean? Just that you really are going out of your way to help me out? I thought we had already established that I think assisting you is the right thing to do. Not when it requires this much effort. What a strange dragon. He looks genuinely confused at my questioning, though, so I decide not to press the issue further. "What kind of errands?" "Small things, nothing worth mentioning. I won't be doing it until you have recovered enough. But it means that I might be away for short stretches of time, so Herschel will take care of you. In the meantime, you seem pretty eager to speak with you." "Well, why?" I don't know." "You really are nervous about beastmen, aren't you?" "Did I not tell you? Most of them do not get along with humans. Maybe that is not the same in the great Dragon Empire, but that is the reality in the South. Come to think of it, I don't even know if there are humans in the great Dragon Empire. My knowledge of the outside world is quite limited. That's one of the reasons I decided to leave in the first place, after all. There's no cause for concern. He seems friendly. Besides, I get the impression that the locals are a little afraid of me. I don't think they will harm you as long as I'm here." "I would let them, but you just said you will be going away. Not far and not for long." "I'm going to keep you safe, Sam. Look at Valos. It's easy to imagine why the beastmen will be cautious around him. He's strong, he's fast, he can breathe fire. I'm certain he knows how to handle those weapons of his. Still, I'm not at all eager to speak with this Herschel." "All right, I trust you. But can I not just stay here, out of sight while you're gone?" The dragon chuckles. "Don't you think that would be rude? Herschel took good care of you while you were unconscious. Besides, wouldn't you want to be fed?" His amusement fades a little at my continued reluctance, and when he speaks, it comes out almost at a growl. "I will not let any harm come to you. Just speak with him and see that he is friendly." "Fine." Val looks pleased at that. "So you're playing off a debt for 2 rooms? The dragon shakes his head. "Why are you sleeping then?" Val points to a rolled up bedroll in the corner of the room that I somehow managed to completely overlook earlier. "I didn't want to get a second room, since that would just mean I'd have to run even more errands, and I want to move on from this place sooner rather than later." "That makes sense. Listen, I'm really sorry you have to go through all this trouble because of me. Don't apologize. I'm glad I happened to be nearby when you were attacked. Yes, despite everything, so am I. Very much so. I'll go and tell Herschel you're awake." I just nod as the dragon squeezes through the door. Despite being larger than normal, it's still not quite large enough for him, and closes it behind him. I take a moment to compose myself. Valos sure is a strange one. Despite so many stories being about wandering knights full of honor and valor, I've long since come to believe that it was all just hogwash. My life in my home village of Alwick wasn't all that bad, but I still had to carve out a place for myself. Even before I was old enough to leave the orphanage, I saw the way kids would use any means possible to ensure their position in the pack. I did it too, so tales like that lost their appeal very quickly. It just never seemed like something that could be real. The smallest part of me that clung to them was quickly crushed when that banner appeared on the road, attacking me for no other reason than me being there. Easy prey, but Velos, if I had seen him just passing through Albert, I would have easily believed he could be one of those knights. He has a demeanor, certainly. Even so, I can't bring myself to just believe he is doing all this purely out of the goodness of his heart, although a part of me wants to. I wish I had seen more dragons before, so I had any idea what they're like. Are they all like Valos, or is he an exception? Could that be why he has crossed the border into the south? My musings are interrupted by a knock on the door. Valos stepped into the room again, followed by a fairly large ox beastman. I swing away a little, immediately put on edge by his stature. Despite being smaller than Valos, the ox is still at least a head taller than myself, and much wider. So it says that Valos is bigger than the ox, but the ox seems to be a little bigger than Valos. I don't know, maybe I want to fix the sprites up some, I don't know. Valos stands to the side, gives me a look with one eyebrow raised, then gestures to the other beastmen. Sam, this is Herschel. He has graciously agreed to host us while you recover. If I had to guess, the ox is in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. A kindly smile splits his muzzle as he reaches out with one hand towards me. I glance once at Valos, who nods subtly at me, before I offer mine in turn. Herschel gives it a hearty shake. Good to see the little humans awake. I must apologize for the sloppy job I've been patching you up. You're the first of your kind I've had in my care. Oh, so you were the one who took care of me? Valos already said as much, but this is the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of something to say. More or less, although the young dragon made a commendable effort before bringing you here. How are you feeling? Fine, sir. His tone is much more friendly and jovial than I expected, and I feel myself relaxing a little. Only a little, though. I thank you for that and for letting me stay here. But, well, when this one offered to carry out some tasks for me in return, I couldn't exactly refuse now, could I? It's not every day one gets a chance to get himself a dragon for a helper, eh? Herschel lets out a booming laugh. Valos and I exchange awkward looks. The dragon then smiles a little tersely at the innkeeper. Happy to help. Just make sure Sam is safe and sound. Herschel raised a hand at him dismissively. Of course, he'll be. No fool will get it in their head to try and harm a guest of mine. I hope that's true. There's an odd edge to the dragon's voice which surprises me. I should be going then. I will be back soon. I can't tell if the words are addressed to me or the innkeeper, but I nod to him anyway. Valos disappears through the door, but the ox remains, regarding me in a way that quickly makes me uncomfortable. He then sits on the stool, which creaks pitifully under his weight, but somehow manages not to break. Herschel motions at the bed, and I reluctantly sit down too. I admit, even though a spare pair of hands was much needed, I was also eager to be able to speak with you. Me? Why? Well, you see, I know some of my own live among your kind, but the opposite is almost never the case. As you can imagine, there haven't really been any humans around these parts that I have never really left. So I see the dragon carrying you, and I think to myself, this may well be my only chance to learn something from an actual human. The innkeeper chuckles again, sounding mighty pleased by this development in his life. I remain silent, not particularly eager to be interrogated by this imposing beastman. Not that I would refuse, because I'm somewhat indebted to him, I suppose. Also because I'm all alone with him. Despite Herschel being older, he is far from fair looking. The ox, meanwhile, keeps blabbering on, oblivious to my discomfort. Don't get me wrong, I've managed to accumulate a fair number of books. All manner of folk pass through my inn, from soldiers and merchants to scholars and everything in between. Some just offer a good story, but plenty have been willing to sell me a book or two. So don't you go think I'm ignorant. But still, I'd be grateful if you could tell me more about your kind, your lifestyle, your kingdoms, the strange being you worship. God, you mean? I do not really believe in that. The ox looks taken aback at my response and maybe a little disappointed. You don't, but we don't, of course, but I thought all humans did. I shrugged at that. There was a small temple in Alwick, and most folks did go there to pray or leave offerings as such, but I never saw the point. I'm not about to discuss my religious beliefs with this beastman, however, so I offer nothing more than that. I see. Interesting. I said, keep that in mind. Still, will you be able to do this for me? Is he always so talkative? Maybe if I'm answering his questions, he won't be. I suppose I will. I don't want to seem ungrateful after all, even if I was brought here somewhat against my will. Herschel practically beams at me. I find this kind of enthusiasm for learning, from a beastman with no obvious aspiration to live among humans, very surprising. But I suppose I can relate to it, to a degree. I left my village for a similar reason, to see more of the world. If the innkeeper can't leave his home, learning about the world from others must be the next best thing. I wouldn't tell him anything dangerous, of course. Not that I have much knowledge that could be harmful and spread to hostile beastmen, but I should still watch what I say. Excellent. I can't express how glad I am. If you don't mind, I'll be taking some notes too. This is starting to overwhelm me a little. I do not mind, but does it have to be now? I woke up not that long ago. The ox slaps his forehead as he stands up. Oh, of course. Forgive me, I got a little carried away. I'm going to bring you something to eat, and then you can get some more rest. We should have at least several days before you fully recover, which gives us plenty of time to converse. I wish it didn't sound so obviously pleased at the fact that I'm hurt enough to have to linger here for that long. Still forced a smile and nod. Can it be something light? I'm a little nauseous. You are? Now Herschel looks at me with concern. It's nothing. Really, I was just hit in the head, is all. He stands there for a long moment, examining me with his gaze, then nods. Very well. I'll be back soon. Be sure to tell me if anything else bothers you. I'm no medic, but I've cared for enough drunk prowlers after a bottle got smashed over their heads to be able to help you. I wish the idea of beastmen fighting drunkenly downstairs, but not at Herschel regardless. Thank you. No need, human. I'm grateful enough to have the dragon here, not to mention a chance to have a chat with you. After you've gotten some food in your belly and a good rest. The ox smiles gingerly before leaving me alone in the room again. That was interesting. For some reason, I expected an innkeeper in a beastman settlement to be sullen and intimidating. Similar, I guess, to the image of the beastmen living in such places I had in my mind in general. Not that the beastmen in my own village were all like that. Some of them were plenty friendly, even if a little aloof. But those dwelt among humans, these on the other hand were hostile to us, consistently engaged in raiding or warfare. So it wouldn't be surprising to me at all if They were all angry, scary, and like that whiner on the forest, malicious. Valos is different, but he's from the north. The great dragon empire doesn't have many dealings with us, as far as I'm aware. Not that my awareness is extensive, because unlike this innkeeper, I haven't exactly had a chance to educate myself through books and conversations with strangers. Both were a rarity where I'm from. I'm simply grateful that I can read at all. The orphanage gave me that much, at least. It would be interesting to hear what this Herschel might know about the dragons if he cares to share his knowledge with me. If his behavior just now wasn't an act, I suspect he will be. The thought makes me a little more willing to answer his questions about humans. Maybe it won't be a complete waste of time and actually stand to gain something here. The innkeeper comes back shortly with a steaming bowl and a spoon in one hand and what appears to be a book in the other. There, hope you don't mind a vegetable soup. I nod gratefully as he hands me the wooden bowl. Even though the slight nausea, the scent wafting of the soup makes my mouth water, my stomach rumbles and my cheeks sweating a little as the innkeeper chuckles. Eat up. I hesitate for only a moment before digging in. The delicious mixture of various herbs, onions, carrots, and potatoes makes me briefly forget my current predicament as I gulp it down ravenously. There's nothing fancy, only makes it better. Ursa watches me take several spoonfuls in silence, but speaks up once the pace of my eating slows. Glad you're enjoying it. It is great, thank you. He waves me off with a grin. I pause for a moment, letting the food settle, and look at the ox. Can I ask where we are? Valos didn't tell you. We spoke for a very short time before he went to get you. Oh, I see. As you already know, this is my inn, the Pearl, we call it. Been my family for generations now. This village of ours is Penrith. Haven't heard of Penrith, but that's hardly surprising. I only know some of the villages and towns closest to my own. The plan was to learn more and decide my path once I got to Arden. Which comes to think of it, sounds exactly like what Valos was doing. Maybe it was hypocritical for me to question his lack of preparation in that regard. Although, like him, I wasn't about to cross the border into another country without even an inkling of an idea of where I was going. That was just outright foolish, which only makes me wonder what could have made Valos leave his homeland in such a hurry that he didn't even bother to pick up a map. I nap out of my thoughts and look to Herschel again. Anything else out there, near the village, I mean? There's a garrison not far from here, guarding that fortress. The soldiers come by fairly often to blow off some steam. A couple of major trading routes pass through Penrith too. That's how I meet all those traders and journeymen I was telling you about. Dragons? Dox looks at me curiously. No, dragons no. They're an insular kind, as far as I know. I try not to let the disappointment show on my face, so he hasn't met any dragons before. I thought they might travel more to the Beastmen lands, even if they don't venture into human kingdoms. Do you know anything about them? Less than you do, most likely. You seem to be close to Valos. I'm sure you've heard plenty. I blink at the ox, not quite comprehending what he's getting at. What do you mean? Herschel's eyebrows rise in surprise, and he scratches his head before he responds. Well, with how protective he seemed about you, I figured you have known each other for a while. Protective? What has Valos been saying, exactly, while I was unconscious? Protective how? Well, he made it very clear what would happen if you were harmed, scare a bunch of my patrons off. Dragons may be rarer than a sweet-smelling fox, but they have quite a fearsome reputation. This one looks like he can back it up. That he does, but what Herschel is saying makes me oddly uncomfortable. I'm not used to this level of care being shown towards me and from someone I barely know. It's a little concerning. I do not really know him at all. I'm uncertain why I say this to the innkeeper. The words spill out before I have a chance to shut my mouth. Huh. How did you two meet, then? I got myself in some trouble. He got me out of it. There's really not much more to it. Really? You just happen to be a dragon just like that? As incredulous as an ox sounds, it's the truth. I did meet Valos just like that. Yes. Then I got wounded, and I guess he decided he could not abandon me. So here we are. Huh. Lots doesn't look convinced, and for a moment he looks like he's about to ask more questions, but he decides against it. There's a brief silence. Then, what do you know about dragons? He also seems startled by my voice, as if he was deep in thought. Oh, as I said, not much. Even with the traffic passing through here, folk who have been to the Dragon Empire are all but non-existent. You could have more luck asking around near the northern border. Do you have any books about the Great Dragon Empire or dragons? I do not believe so. I sigh, not hiding my disappointment at this time. The innkeeper regards me, then nods to himself. I do have a friend who might have something, though. He lives in a nearby settlement. Maybe a dragon can go and fetch it for me, since he is running errands for me anyway. No, it is all right. Nonsense. It will not even be a long trip for him. I suppose I'd be grateful. Certainly. I put 2 more spoonfuls in my mouth. The soup has gotten a little lukewarm and musty by now, but still delicious. What kind of errands is Valos taking care of for you? Oh, this and that. At my bemused expression, Rosa scratches his head again and laughs. All right. If you need specifics, he's just making some deliveries or bringing shipments. Hunting for food, too. Saves me some corn that way. And now as I sit back and finish up the meal. The task seems far too mundane, and I'm suspicious that Herschel isn't telling me the truth. These are not the kinds of things I ask a dragon to do if he agreed to work for me. I bet there's more to this. In order not to irritate Herschel, however, I don't question any of what he said. I suspect I'll have an easier time getting the truth out of Valos once he returns. I see. Thank you for allowing me to pay off my debt like this. Bah, I told you, this help is more valuable than corn right now. That and the chance to speak with you. I nod to him. Noting that I'm finished, Herschel takes the empty bowl and spoon and hands me the book he had been holding this whole time. There, figure you may want something to keep yourself entertained while you're cooped up here. This one has some interesting stories about past battles. Bet a young lad like you might enjoy it. As he reaches out to take the book, he hesitates. You can read, right? I chuckle. I can. Why is that surprising? A little. We have plenty of youngsters who'd rather swing wooden weapons around their lawn. I cannot say I'm much of a scholar, but I can distinguish one letter from another. Good, then let me know if you like it. The innkeeper lights several candles for me before he leaves the room, bidding me good evening and promising he'll return tomorrow for a proper chat. I glance out the window, noting that the sky is turning a darker shade. It's already evening. Now that I'm awake and aware, I realize that I must better have the dragon here for the night. Also seems nice, certainly, but he doesn't make me feel entirely safe. Valos is protective of me, apparently. I still don't know why or what that even means, and it makes me nervous, but it's also a little reassuring. I still don't know why or what that even means, and it makes me nervous, but it's also a little reassuring. If not for him, I'd be dead twice over. Twice because he's likely the only thing keeping the beastman away from my throat right now. Although that last one doesn't quite count because he's the reason I'm here in the first place. I chuckled at the thought and as I settled in to read. The book is all about history. It takes me a while to If not for him, I'd be dead twice over. Thrice because he's likely the only thing keeping the beastmen away from our throat right now. Although that last one doesn't quite count because he's the reason I'm here in the first place. I chuckle at the thought as I settle in to read. The book is all about history. It takes me a while to get in the rhythm where I can string the letters together fast enough that I don't have to sound them out one by one. I was never the most diligent pupil, but once I get there, I find the book entertaining enough. The history of the kingdoms of Aimar, Everard, and Reniel, which comprise the South, is long and bloody. In other words, not something I want to experience for myself, but certainly interesting to learn about. Aimar is where we currently are. I think my home village, Alwick, also nominally belongs to Aimar, but it's somewhere near the border, so nobody bothers with us. Good thing too, because Aimar is for the most part a beastman nation. I remember this much from what meager education I received at the orphanage, and the book I'm reading confirms it. Curious, I spend some time looking for any mentions of Alwick, but of course there are none. No wonder with how boring and distant it is. Precisely why I left. Of course, back then I had no idea that soon I would not only meet an actual dragon but end up closer to the heart of Aimar as well. I just hope I can make it back to where it's safe for my kind. As the evening stretches on, I continue reading. The sun sets and the sky begins to darkness, and there's still no sign of Valos. I become strangely absorbed in reading. Some parts of it are obscenely boring, listing various names of rulers and priests and famous warriors whose deeds don't seem all that impressive. But I just skip those to get to the good stuff. Nevertheless, fatigue slowly catches up to me. My body is still sore, and the time I spent awake today was a little exhausting mentally, so I feel myself start to doze off. I put the book on the wooden cabinet, glancing out of the window once to note the now empty square, then put out the candles. With how silent Valos tends to be, I doubt I'll hear him coming back. I just hope he does soon. With that thought offering its own sort of comfort, I slowly drift off into sleep. The next 3 days passed in relative peace. Valos returned late during that first night, so we didn't have a chance to talk. Through the sleep-induced haze, I was only vaguely aware of him calmly unfolding his bedroll in the darkness. He left early the next day, and again on the next. The morning of the 4th day of my constant stay at Herschel's Inn, however, Valos is still sound asleep as the rays of the sun streaming through the open window wake me. I stretch lazily, already feeling that my body is mending itself. Rolling my shoulders, I'm satisfied not to feel any sort of pain. Not that it is entirely comfortable. It will still be days before I'm in the shape I was before encountering that cursed rhino. As I yawn, my gaze wanders over to the sleeping form of the dragon in the corner of the room. He is lying on his back, most of his torso exposed, with a blanket crumpled around his waist and legs. His powerful chest rises and falls with every deep breath he takes, and the muscles on his arm ripple as he scratches idly at his belly. I don't know why I suddenly feel compelled to just stare at him right now. Maybe it's the way the morning sunlight plays on his scaly flesh, almost mesmerizing me. Or maybe I just can't help but admire that even in his sleep, Valos' body conveys the same sense of power or strength. The same strength I saw when he carried me effortlessly through the forest. He is quite unlike any other beastman I've seen. But even with these thoughts swirling through my head, I must admit that I also find his sleeping expression endearing. Much like when he gets flustered beneath all that sinew and muscle, I can't help but find him a little cute. Looking at him now, I have to wonder what it would be like to lie in that bedroll beside him, with his arms wrapped around me, and I shook my head forcefully. What a stupid thought. To stay in this place must be really getting to me. Away from my own kind, I must have begun missing some companionship. To imagine that Valos would be interested in my companionship is beyond silly. Not that I want it either. I lie back onto the bed, grumbling quietly to myself as I carefully avoid looking at the slumbering dragon again. This should be the last of my concerns right now. What does it matter anyway? We will soon part ways, him continuing on his journey, me getting back to mine. That we are sleeping in the same room and all is just a matter of convenience. Even if he is oddly committed to safeguarding me, I can see that as nothing else but his sense of duty prevailing. There ought to serve some other purpose to him if the suspicious part of my mind proves to be correct. I glance at the pair of books on the cabinet. The one on top is the history book Herschel brought me the other day. It lies on the top of the other book he brought me just yesterday, the one about the Great Dragon Empire. Herschel gave it to me just yesterday, although I haven't brought it up with Valos yet. In truth, Valos was the one who fetched it in the first place, but he seemed unaware that the ox intended to lend it to me. I'm distracted by the dragon groaning as he rolls into a sitting position, scratching his head as he stares blankly around the room before his eyes focus on me. Good morning. Morning. He blinks several times, stretching. I try not to stare too hard at his form as he does so, but the temptation is there. Glancing at him, though, I feel a little guilty that he is sleeping on the floor. Between his wings and his thick tail, finding a comfortable position must be difficult. Given how he's only really doing any of this on my behalf, I should probably offer to trade places soon. I've recovered enough for that much, at least. And I'm more than used to sleeping on a pallet on the ground. Meanwhile, Valos finishes stretching, then promptly gets up and begins putting on the scattered pieces of armor he usually wears. Already leaving? Also has had some more errands for me. I found the ox is still running him ragged with these tasks of his. I suppose he is trying to squeeze as much work out of Valos as he can before the two of us leave. I feel a twinge of disappointment. Despite an actual dragon being right here, I scarcely had the opportunity to ask him anything substantial, instead having to rely on some books to learn more. It would be nice if I could have a proper conversation with him. A silly part of me even wants to tell him that I'm healed enough to leave now, just so we could speak while on the road to the next settlement away from here. As I shake off that thought, I find Valos staring at me with those intense yellow eyes of his. What does he have you doing now? Same as before, deliveries for the most part. All day again? Most likely. Are you feeling better? I nod at him. He is silent for an odd moment before he secures his sword on his back and nods back at me. Good, stay safe. I'm not quite sure what to say, so I just give him a small wave. The dragon exits without another word, leaving me alone in the room. I peek briefly out the window. The sun is still low on the horizon, so I should have more time to sleep if I wanted to. I haven't mentioned it to Valos, but he's not the only one Herschel has errands for. Now that I'm feeling better, the innkeeper has asked me to help around the inn a little. I think back to the conversation from yesterday, wondering if I should have held to my initial refusal. After all, Valos is already doing more than enough to pay Herschel back for the place to stay. But then the ox raised the possibility of getting me some extra supplies for when I finally left, as well as a couple books from his collection, if I was helpful. He also assured me that I would be out of sight of any other villagers we might wander into the tavern downstairs. After some thinking, I finally agreed. There should be no harm in it, and staying in this room all day is becoming tiresome, even with the books to entertain me. Since there is still time before I'm supposed to start heavy rehearsal, I reached over to grab the one of the Dragon Empire. As I'm returning to my bed, a piece of paper falls out of it. Ah, damn. I immediately leaned to pick it up, panicked that a page was torn. The book isn't mine, and I've been trying to be careful. I don't want to return it to Herschel damaged, given how he seems to treasure these writings. He could probably get mad. Quickly unfolding the piece, I realize it's not in fact a page from this book, but it is a map of all the kingdoms. I suppose I didn't notice it was there before. Valos stood like this. It's not a very detailed one, only showing the borders between the kingdoms and some of the larger landmarks like forests and mountain chains. I traced the border of Imar with my finger, trying to guess where my own village could be, where we currently are. With nothing more than that to guide me, however, finding exact positions is impossible. I suppose I could see if Herschel could mark his settlement for me on the map. Valos would definitely want to see this. Maybe now he won't have to pay someone else to give him a map. I fold the piece of paper carefully and put it back between the pages of the book, then prop myself up with a pillow so I can read in comfort. In truth, it's not all that interesting. I was disappointed when Herschel gave it to me and I first took a look at what it had to offer. The book is similar to the first one the Ox gave me, in that it is mostly a dry retelling of the history of the great Dragon Empire. It seems to have very little to say about what the dragons are really like, how they act, how they live. When I spoke with Herschel about it later, he told me that the book isn't even up to date. The last ruler of the empire, whose reign is described as someone named Thrina. According to the book, she was also its first female ruler, and the stories about her are quite chilling. Ruthless to the point of cruelty, she went on a campaign to slaughter the canine denizens of the empire for no reason I could understand. She even seemed to try starting a war with her neighbors for the exact same purpose. The book seems uncertain about the reasons for such hatred for a breed of beastmen, and I myself can't imagine what could have driven her to this. Fortunately, that was many, many years ago, and this Thrina was eventually overthrown by her own son. But even if it's in the past now, seeing that someone like this once led the great Dragon Empire is scary. It is a common occurrence for the dragons to want to slaughter those not of their kind. Valos doesn't seem like the hateful kind, but maybe that's precisely why he left his homeland behind. Other than that bloody episode of history, however, the book has little to offer. It speaks of the structure of its leadership, how the seat of the emperor passes from one dragon to the next, their advisors and courtiers, but I find myself bored reading it all. It's not as if I would ever have anything to do with the royal family of the empire or any of its nobles. The information is about as useful to me as a car without wheels. It's frustrating that these books always speak of people like this, important grand, born to a life of power, able to shape destinies of kingdoms. Not people like myself, live a normal life, people I would actually be able to meet if I were to travel there. I suppose at the very least it's another reason to travel myself instead of relying on the accounts of others. Chuckling, I put the book away. I had been thumbing the same page for minutes as I thought about it all. Maybe I should be more interested, after all, if I see nothing grand on this journey. Was leaving even worth it? But then again, I'm not delusional. The best I can hope for is a glimpse of the castles and palaces where these people live their important lives, planning and scheming and weaving together the fates of kingdoms. I'm just one orphan from a tiny village in the middle of nowhere. I jump a little as someone knocks at the door. It's just me. Come on in. Putting a book aside, I watched the innkeeper enter the room a friendly smile playing at his lips. I trust you slept well. Yes, I'm feeling better. Good, good. What about it then? I could use some help in the kitchen. My usual cook's out sick. All right, I will be down soon. Alex grins and nods. He turns to leave, but pauses at my question. When do you think will Valos return? In the evening, I think. You still are wanting him ragged. He seems to catch the approach in my voice, because he scratches his head, smiling awkwardly. He hasn't complained this far. He does not seem like the type who would. Herschel turns fully to face me, now smiling faintly. He will be back soon enough, no need to worry. Not worried, just wondering. As I said, you will see your dragon companion soon enough. Now, I will be waiting for you downstairs, though do not be too long. I nod if the ox leaves the room. I use a small basin with water to wash up before I get dressed. A look out the window tells me that the little plaza is starting to fill up with the locals, although it's not bustling with activity quite yet. The bull blacksmith is already at work. He seems to be at it every day almost since sunrise. It's usually one of the last few to return to his home across the inn at night. Turning around, I hesitate for a moment before I pull the door and emerge into the hallway. I listen for a moment, making sure I'm not hearing the voices of Herschel's customers. Isn't it far early for anybody to be drinking yet? But who knows who these beastmen. There will certainly be someone looking for breakfast soon. One of the travelers currently staying at the inn, perhaps. I don't know how many there are here at the moment, but over the last few days I've heard footsteps in the hallways outside my room often enough. It's quiet right now, though, so gingerly I head to the end of the hallway and then follow the steps to the first floor. What little I glimpsed of the tavern some days ago gave me the correct impression. It is indeed quite spacious. There are several tables neatly arrayed in the central space with wooden stools much like the one in my room. All of them are currently empty with no customers in sight. On the opposite side of the room is a bar with multiple cells of colorful bottles of what I presume to be booze. I examined these with some interest. I've never really had a chance to taste anything better than the blandest ale the inn at my village serves. The cask sitting on top of the bar must be for ale, but the rest could be more exotic. I bet Valos has tasted some truly unique brews in the Great Dragon Empire. Or maybe not. Good booze is expensive. From what I've gathered, and Valos doesn't appear all that wealthy. If he had been, surely he would have more to his name than an admittedly good-looking sword. I'll make sure to ask him when he returns anyway. Maybe I can even persuade Herschel to part with a bottle in exchange for work well done. Speaking of which, I hear the ox's heavy footsteps before I see the door. I hadn't noticed open. He waves at me to approach. Come on in, Sam. Head over, careful to avoid the empty seats. He ushers me into the kitchen. I'm once again surprised by its size. It's easily as big as the room I had to share with other orphans growing up. Herschel must be doing really good for himself, I suppose. I feel a pang of envy. He said the inn has been with his family for generations. I don't even have anything to remember my parents by. Not that there's any point dwelling on it. Herschel is smiling at me pleasantly. What do you think of my inn, now that you've had a proper look? It is great. I can tell you run it well. Much larger than I thought. The village you come from had one too. I was sure it did, but it was tiny. I think old man Raymond only had 2 rooms for visitors, and they were barely ever in use. It was mostly a tavern to us, and even then more cramped than yours. Herschel lets out a good-natured chuckle. We're larger than you humans, of course. I need more space. I stare at his laughter at that. I suppose you're right. Herschel takes the opportunity to show me everything in the kitchen, where to find this or that utensil, what he has available to in the pantry, and so on. I try to pay attention, although the presence of a window in the room puts me slightly on edge. We are on the first floor now. What if a passerby notices me? Herschel finally notices my discomfort in it as he follows my gaze to the window. Oh, don't worry about that. It's not facing the plaza. Barely anyone walks on this side. Alright. Now, you can cook, right? I can, as long as you do not expect anything fancy. The ox laughs. Trust me, Sam, that's not what I offer my customers. Now, comfortable and cozy would be more accurate. I'll still be able to do that, I think. Good, then I will trust breakfast to you. We don't need too much of that. I only have 3 customers staying here right now, besides yourself. As for later meals, you can play assistant to me for those. How does that sound? I nod. It's good that I won't have to work in this room alone the entire day. Herschel's company will be welcome, even his chattiness is sometimes too much for me. But for now, I am left to my own devices. I take stock of what is available in the pantry once more, then start preparing everything I need. A hearty breakfast of bacon and eggs should be more than enough, and soon enough I have the strips sizzling on a pan. The aroma quickly fills the room, and when Herschel returns to start arranging the meals on their plates, he takes the air in with a satisfied smirk. Don't forget to leave some for yourself. We're not dreaming of depriving myself like that. The ox chuckles as he balances 2 of the plates on his hands. Hold the door open for him, making sure to stay out of sight of anyone in the central room. Once Herschel informs me that everyone has been served, I prepare 2 final plates for myself and the ox. To my mild surprise, he joins me at the table in the kitchen. Simple but delicious. Good work. Thank you. I'm used to cooking my own meals, and simple is often all I had to work with. Herschel regards me for a long moment, thoughtful. I try not to let myself get irritated. Never been fond of being examined like that. You know, it never occurred to me to ask, but how old are you, in human terms? I reached adulthood not too long ago. I see. When I don't elaborate, he smiles, and we eat the rest of the meal in silence. Herschel then gives me instructions for the preparations I can make for the next meal before leaving me alone once more. With nothing else to pass the time, I set to work, peeling potatoes, cutting up the meat like he asked, only occasionally glancing out the window to reassure myself. Now that I'm working like this, I realize how good it is to have something to occupy me. I've never been much for leisure, and while reading was interesting, I dislike having to be lounging around in bed while I recovered. After several days' rest, the work is so entertaining, in fact, that I barely notice how much time has passed when Herschel finally returns to the kitchen. With most of the preparations out of the way, I simply watch the innkeeper as he sets to work, assembling the pieces into an actual meal. He chats away as he does so, explaining the process to me. Not that it's particularly complicated, but I listen all the same. Once it's all done, he leaves briefly, only to return for another block. It's going to be a while before dinner, so feel free to read. I would rather get to cleaning, to be honest, Herschel. Geralt scratches his chin. Are you certain you can do that later in the evening? I think the tales here are quite fascinating. I examine his offering. It's a book of children's tales. I raise an eyebrow at him questioningly. Did I not tell you I am an adult? Also lets out one of his signature booming laughs. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy the tales. How does it? I didn't mean anything by it, Sam. They're generally fun to read. Alright, thanks. He grins and waves before leaving the kitchen. I set the book aside and grabbed the broom, but as the minutes stretched on, I realized I was not quite recovered enough to spend all day on my feet. I sit and grab the book, sweating at it suspiciously. Determined to dislike it, I nevertheless start reading the first tale. The determination crumbles quickly as I find myself generally entertained with the story of a boy who climbed a magical tree to reach the clouds. I find myself so absorbed in the fact that I panic a little when I realize hours have passed and I have yet to start preparing for dinner. Scrambling to get everything Herschel asked of me done, I bump painfully into the corner of the table, but bruise is a small price to pay for my carelessness. Fortunately, when the innkeeper arrives, he finds everything he needs. Cooking goes on much like it did earlier, with Herschel doing most of the work as I watch. Once we're done with that, I help him take the bowls out the door. The tavern is much livelier now, with sounds of merriment filling the building as customers eat and drink and chat. I set to clean the kitchen up, Herschel having told me that it might be a while before everyone has left and it's safe for me to sneak upstairs. Once done, I sigh in satisfaction. My eyes are drawn to the door, and I put my ear to it, trying to overhear the conversations happening among the basement. Nothing really jumps out at me, but curiosity takes the better of me. I decide to try and sneak a peek. I open the door ever so slightly and take a quick look. My eyes are immediately drawn to the dragon speaking with Herschel in the corner of the room. From his posture, I can tell that Valos is at least a little tired. No wonder he has been out all day. After all, Herschel gestures at the door to the kitchen, and to my surprise, Valos turns around and starts heading towards me. I quickly set the door on the way and move out of the way. The dragon enters, his eyes quickly finding me. He gives me a little smile. I notice, however, that he seems a little tense. Welcome back, I say. He closes the door behind him. Evening, Sam. He looks around the kitchen curiously. I heard Herschel set you to work. I'm going to have some words with him. There's no need for that. I agreed to do this. Besides, he promised additional supplies to return. Considering I lost everything back in the forest, I said count this as a blessing. The dragon slowly nods. He then smiles sheepishly at me. Is there any good left? Oh. No, but I can make something for you. Sit down, Valos does, unstrapping his sword and leaning it back and leaning it against the wall before stretching and taking a seat at the table. I try not to stare at his form, but the temptation is there yet again. He watches me in silence as I hastily get a fire going again at the stove. I retrieve several pieces of cured meat, chop up an onion before sauteing it, then fry the meat. Valos nods gratefully when I hand him the plate. He devours the first few bites like he has been starving for days, and I let him do so in peace. When he slows down, however, I speak up. So, how was your day? Any interesting errands? He swears as he takes another bite. Not particularly. The life of an innkeeper doesn't seem very exciting. The task Herschel gives me are fairly mundane. Did you go elsewhere, or were you in Penrith this whole time? I had to go a bit further. I follow his tone. Is something troubling you? No. Really? You seemed tense when you came back. Valos swallows and sighs. His gaze wanders over to the window. Just a woman spreading around. Like what? I heard that there's another dragon in a nearby village. My eyebrows stood up at that. Really? Another one? I thought your kind almost never came south, and now there is one more dragon in the area? It might just be a rumor, Sam. Could be me they are talking about, for all we know. Sarah would rather be safe. I give him a confused look. Safe? Are you not glad to know your kind is nearby? I would love to see a human right about now. Well, without knowing who they are and why they're here, I sense that it could be dangerous. My confusion only grows at his words, but my thoughts rush immediately to my initial suspicions of what Valos' presence in the south meant. A possible invasion for the great dragon empire. Should I even bring this up to Valos? What could they be doing here? Surely it cannot be that bad, no? Just trust me, will you? We dragons don't always get along, especially outside our native lands. So yes, I'm a little concerned. Maybe you should leave then, if it's dangerous. And I'm not about to leave you here. It says it like that should be self-evident. If you say so. Still have recovered enough for the road. If you want to, we can just set out tomorrow. No, you have not. And I'm not going to put you at risk. We should make sure we are prepared for trouble, just in case. He always be up and down. Maybe I should teach you to fight a little. Fight? You think it will come to that? No, at least I do not think so, but after what happened to you back in the forest, I would much rather ensure that you can defend yourself. Fellas, you do not need to do any of this for me. You should just leave. I will not hold it against you. He nails his eyes at me angrily. And I'm not doing that, especially since if the other dragon hears of my presence and decides to investigate, he might come after you. I'm still confused as to why this has put Valos on edge, but I nod anyway, unwilling to argue the point. It's not like I want him to leave. I simply dislike feeling like he is holding himself back for my sake. We still barely know each other, after all. Alright, if you say so. I will not say no to training either. There was nobody to teach me to wield a weapon at home. I welcome the opportunity to learn. Valos nods, looking a little distracted. He sits in silence, obviously lost in thought, while I clean up after him. But then Herschel comes and informs us that he has closed up for the night and it is safe for me to go upstairs. Once back in our shared room, I get to bed, but for the longest time, I'm unable to sleep. Valos acted very strange today. I'm going to try and get a better explanation out of him tomorrow. As I lay in bed, all I can do is stare at this shadowy form in the corner of the room. I cannot tell the dragon is as restless right now as I am. He is on his side, his eyes hidden from me. Part of me wants to say something, but I hold back. He was tired and tense, and I did not seem eager to talk. I should let him sleep in peace. I try to get some sleep myself. The restlessness I was feeling persists throughout the entire night. Maybe Val's inexplicable worry somehow got to me too, because I keep waking up, heart hammering in my chest, only to hear the dragon's smooth, rhythmic breathing in the corner, slowly pulling me back to sleep. Unlike the previous few days, when I rose in time to see the dawn paint the sky outside in hues of bright pink and soft orange, today the sun is well above the horizon by the time I open my eyes. With a tired groan, I stare at the wall, eyes half-lidded, my body utterly unwilling to even consider crawling out of the soft comfort of the bed. Sam? The word spoke in a soft voice jerked me awake, and I rolled to my other side to see Valos sitting on a stool by my bed. He gives me a sheepish grin as he raises a hand by way of greeting. My apologies, I didn't mean to wake you. No, it is fine. I was about to get up anyway. As if on cue, a yawn forms at my mouth, betraying the lie. I rub my eyes squinting against the sun's glare streaming into the room from the window. I do not mind if you need more rest. Do not worry about me. What time is it? Almost midday, I believe. Oh, seems like the night was even worse than I thought. I scratched my head trying to remember if I was seeing any nightmares. It's not typically a problem for me. Even back in the orphanage when I had to sleep in a pile of children, quality of sleep was not a complaint I ever had. The Anglican life has been very different since I left my village. An odd scent catches my attention, something burnt, maybe. Before I have a chance to investigate, my eyes snap back to Valos. What is he still doing here? It was almost noon. He should have been long gone. The dragon has been watching me quietly, seemingly content to let me bring myself to full awakeness. Are you not leaving today? Herschel gave me the day off. It appears that he has run out a task for me, at least for the moment. There's a excited note in the dragon's voice, and I can't help but smile back at him. That is good. He was wanting you ragged from what I have seen. Bellows waved my words off with a smile. For the most part, it was because I had to travel to nearby settlements on his behalf, which is a good thing in the long run. I have a better grasp of the area now. Either way, since I woke up earlier than you, I thought. He points to the table, and I finally noticed that there's a tray with a breakfast meal arranged on it there. Standing, he grabs it and brings it over to me. I'm surprised to say the least, having figured that it was Herschel who prepared the meal. As I take the tray, I stare at the contents. It's not much different from what I prepared just yesterday for Herschel's guests, except the source of the burnt smell from earlier becomes clear now. The bacon is charred as is the toasted bread, and I can tell that the eggs were left in the boiling water for far too long from just touching one of them. Bellows looks distinctively nervous as he waits for me to sample the meal, the smile having slid off his snout. Thanks. You did not have to. Should I tell him the truth or lie? Yeah, I think I don't want to hurt Bellows' feelings, but at the same time, I think we should be honest. If we're honest, maybe he'll try to be better at cooking. To be honest. Bellows grimaces at that, hanging his head. I immediately feel bad for pointing it out. It is, I can see that. I'm sorry. This is not something I have much experience with. I thought I might give it a go. I can take this downstairs and ask Herschel instead, if you like. No, it's not that bad. I object hastily, shielding the tray before the dragon has a chance to take it away. In all honesty, it looks rather unappetizing, but I don't want to be ungrateful. He did try after all. I take a bite of the meat. I suspect that it has an unpleasant burnt flavor, not the smoky kind where it's burnt just right, but rather the taste you get when the cook forgets all about what's on the fire until it's too late. Still do my best to make a show of enjoying it. I don't think Bellows quite buys it, but regardless, we are silent while I finish it up. He is halfway through putting the tray away when I asked my next question. So, you are a noble? You are a noble then? The dragon freezes, the hand with the tray hovering right above the table as he turns his head to me. What makes you say that? Come on, Bellows. I am not stupid. Besides, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, admitting that you have pretty much never cooked in your life gives you away immediately. Who else but someone raised among nobles would have that luxury? He finally puts the wooden tray down with a heavy sigh. I suppose I am not very good at this, am I? Yes, you are correct. I come from a noble household. Is there a reason you do not want that to be known? He stares out the window, his expression distant. He returns his gaze back to me, however, he's wearing a faint smile. Not particularly known. It is simply that it does not matter now. I'm just a traveler here, nothing more. He turns serious again, while I don't return his smile, and he sits down heavily on the stool. Sam, I know I haven't been very forthcoming with you, but believe me when I tell you that the reason is simply that I have left that life behind. I journeyed here so I can see the South and meet its people. Who I was back in the great dragon empire, what family I came from, none of that matters now. Is this why you are so concerned about the other dragon? Bellows stifles, his jaw tight. It's related. I will cross that bridge when I get to it. Do you even need bridges? At my immediately sudden question, Bellows gives me a blank stare. I just mean, can you fly over any river, right? The dragon blinks at me several times. Sam, it's just an expression. I know, I was just surprised that the dragons have it too. It's a very common expression. I suppose you're right. Bellows continues staring, then he finally tilts his head back and erupts in laughter. You are a very odd one sometimes. Are all humans like this? I can feel my ears wetting at my words of laughter. I'm not odd. I was just curious. Sure, I'm happy to sate your curiosity then. He gives me a grin. My stupid questions obviously haven't lifted his spirits. That aside, though, I can't help but feel a little excited at his confirmation. Valos are noble from the great Dragon Empire. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for now. Okay, so we learned that Valos is a noble for the great Dragon Empire, so certainly the upbringing between the two of them are much different. And that certainly explains why he can't cook. Now, he did try to cook for Sam, which is very nice of him. And he was bad at it, but that was very nice that he at least tried to cook for Sam. And I like the fact that Sam knows how to cook. I mean, nothing fancy, but at least something good to eat. You know, it's like just something good to eat, not fancy. That's what I like about Sam, that he knows how to do something. There's a lot of these VNs, you know, the human MC is somebody who's not all that talented and they just can't do anything, and it's the furry love interest that is very talented and can practically do anything. And the human MC is this person who really can't do anything, just no talent, no knowledge of anything. So I like that in this VN here, the human knows how to cook. So Herschel, he's been nice so far. He's very eager to know about humans, and that is why he's been very talkative towards Sam. He wants to know more about humans. And Sam was very impressed with the inn and how big it is, but Herschel did say that beastmen are bigger than humans, so they need more space. Now, how much bigger beastmen are than humans, I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on species. I mean, I don't think every beastman can be bigger than humans. I mean, I understand ox or dragons, and you know, or the rhino we met at the beginning of VN. Those animals, those type of beastmen, I understand being bigger than humans, but I wonder if there are beastmen based on smaller animals. And are they bigger and stronger than humans too, or are they smaller? I mean, realistically, if they're beastmen based on small animals, I don't think they should be any bigger than humans. But I've seen games where beastmen based on small animals were still bigger and stronger than humans. Anyway, so after Herschel working Valos hard for the past 4 days, I think it's been 4 days or 5, but anyway, basically like a work week, basically for Valos. I mean, after Herschel working Valos hard, going to different places, delivering stuff, Herschel has given Valos a free day off, even if it's only because he doesn't have any errands for him to do right now. I mean, we'll see, kind of like we give him a day off, you know, just by choice, whether he had errands to give him or not. But anyway, so next time we'll get to see him train Sam to defend himself, because you know he's very skilled in combat, very skilled. He was able to take down that rhino, and that's the reason why Sam is still alive today, because his combat prowess. So there are certainly things that both of them are good at. Sam is good at cooking and Valos is good at combat. And there's a dragon in an area nearby who might be looking for Valos. So there's some concern from Valos about this dragon, and whether this dragon came from the great dragon empire to hunt him down or something. That might be what this dragon is, trying to search for Valos and bring him back to the great dragon empire, because Valos is a noble after all, and he ran away from his family, and his family probably doesn't like that, so they probably sent somebody to hunt Valos and bring him back home. That could be what this dragon is here for, so we'll figure out all that in the next episode. Is there anything else I want to say about oh, one more thing about the Great Dragon Empire. It seems to have a violent history, especially with this empress they had recently. She would kill canine beastmen for no reason. Like, just kill any beastman that isn't a dragon. So there's just no good reason. I mean, seems to be a violent society. I don't know if most dragons are violent like that, or maybe the overwhelming majority of the people there are not violent, but their leaders are. I don't know. Maybe it's the leaders who are violent, and not necessarily the people. The majority of the people of the Great Dragon Empire. But again, dragons could very well be a violent people. You know, just overwhelming majority of them being violent, and Valos being the exception to that. Now Valos, he certainly has been going out of his way to take care of Sam. I wonder why. Is it for the goodness of his heart, or is there an ulterior motive to what he's doing? Because Sam, while he is thankful of Valos, he is still kind of skeptical about Valos. Certainly, Sam has trust issues, and the way humans in his village act towards him, as well as the stories he's heard about beastmen, has made him very skeptical in someone who is not someone with trust issues. So for Sam, it's pretty odd to see somebody doing good stuff towards him for the goodness of their heart. Usually, in Sam's mind, people, when they do something for you, they do it with an ulterior motive, or they expect something back from you. So for Sam, it's very strange that he's doing all this for him when he doesn't know him, and when he doesn't necessarily have to do all that. So we'll figure out a lot more later on in the story. So thank you all very much for watching. Goodbye.